Hello and welcome back to Nothing Specific. Today I'm joined by Omega Luke. Luke is a football manager, content creator, and also a professional wrestler. Luke, thank you very much for joining me. How are you doing?
Thank you very much for asking me on, mate. Looking forward to it.
Not a problem, not a problem. Love the belt behind you, by the way. Absolutely
Oh
beautiful.
yeah, it looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
I don't
class.
know what I'm going to do if I ever lose it, which I won't. But yeah, I'm gonna have to find something to put up there.
But
Maybe
that's
a
it.
YouTube plaque or something. Yeah,
Yeah. You're not gonna have to worry about that though, so it's all good.
that's it. Yeah, it's just there forever. They have to
That's
retire the
it.
belt with me. Yeah.
So we'll start with the football manager side of things first of all. So, what was the first football manager you played?
I believe it was Championship Manager 98, 99. My uncle is what really got me into it the very first time anyway to play it. He used to play it quite a lot when I used to be down there. I used to see him play it. He's a big Plymouth Argyle fan, so he was always Plymouth Argyle. And I watched him play it. I had then got myself the demo, so I played a little bit of it then. But I was quite young, so I was only born in 92, so I was very young at that point. So and obviously because I only had the demo, I didn't really go past back then. I think you could only do one season with the demo. So I never really went like far into it. All I remember is playing Championship Manager '03 roughly, and then when Football Manager 2005 came out, I remember getting that, and that's when I really like sort of sucked my teeth into long term saves really. And I believe I've played every single version of the game since 2005. So yeah.
Yeah, very much like myself. Then, like I started out on one of the early football managers when I was really young. Well,
Yeah.
championship managers, you should say. And the first thing I always remember from doing it, because I was about 7, I just wanted to buy Michael Owen.
Yeah.
I think I was like Stockport or someone stupid like that, wanting to buy Michael Owen because I didn't know any better.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I know I played quite a lot of like different because I had like a PC growing up, but it was more my dad's PC, so I didn't really play a lot on there. I remember playing a lot of manager games on like the PlayStation. You get like the Premier Managers, and of course, PS2 came around, and LMA Manager was quite popular at the time. So, manager games is something I've always loved. Football Manager, though, when it came around, and I sort of had my own laptop growing up was when I really sort of got into this obviously iteration of a manager game.
Yeah. So when did you start to give the content creation a go?
So I remember I used to come home pretty much every day from work, rush home to watch Second Yellow Card. He was like one of my favorites, him and Jack. I remember he used to have Jack used to have the Gibraltar Apex save, and I remember always saying to my partner at the time, like, I really wish I could do this like YouTube because I think I'd be quite good at it. And she sort of said, oh, you need to look into it. And to be honest, I was too lazy to look into it. I genuinely thought, even though I had a laptop, I'd need some kind of capture card to make it, high quality and stuff like that. So I never really like looked into it. I was just, obsessed with watching these guys and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until I did a wrestling podcast and I looked into how easy that was to do to begin with and the equipment because I was only like an engineering apprentice, so I wasn't really making a lot of money when I was watching these guys. So I knew I really couldn't afford to do much like that. But when I sort of graduated from my apprenticeship, I bought myself a cheap microphone, did a podcast and stuff like that with wrestling. And then it wasn't until I realized when people are asking, oh, why don't you do video stuff? And I started realizing how easy it was to actually screen record stuff. I was like, oh, I've been very lazy. I should have known how to do this. So one of my like biggest regrets, I guess, is not starting sooner. So I think I started this channel anyway because I had a previous channel which was a wrestling channel, and then I started the Omega Luke one, which has the Football Manager as my second channel, which started in May 2019, I believe.
Wow. I mean, so that that rise you've had, because I mean, you look at yourself now on the channel, you've got just coming up to 96,000 followers. I think you've got like over
Yeah.
27 million views. To get it in that short space of time is actually quite remarkable.
Yeah, it was I had like a nice little start, to be fair. I remember, to be really, getting like 15 people watching videos, and it was like 15 people regular. And I thought that's pretty cool. I was just enjoying doing it, really. And then it wasn't until it started kicking on. I got like the first 1,000 within like 6 or 8 months, something like that. I knew I was getting paid before the new year. So because obviously the requirements you need for that. So I knew I had done that within, the first 9 months anyway. So I thought that was a big achievement anyway. But yeah, the rise sort of within the last year or two since I went full time has been pretty like, skin pinching for me. I can't believe it's happened like that, to be fair. But yeah, I'm very grateful for sure.
Yeah. What was it that made you realize this could be a meaningful career?
I remember I kind of always wanted to, I've always like looked at how much people make on YouTube. But I remember Kev did a video 3 years ago on how much he made through YouTube. And I had already started at that point. So I knew that you could, make a good living because there was people doing it full time with Football Manager anyway. And I never really knew like how much you could really make from it. And I remember Kev doing a video and with all his brand deals, etc., and his second channel and stuff. And I thought, wow, like he's done that through the base being Football Manager. So that was kind of like my goal. But at the time, whenever I used to mention to my wife, she'd always sort of see it as my hobby with just like a little extra pocket money, I guess. And I used to say like, one day I could do this as a full-time job. She would always set me the target of, yeah, when you're getting double what you're getting paid at your job, then we'll talk about it. But yeah, I was quite lucky really when I actually did go full time, because I was making nowhere near that. But at the time, it felt like the right thing to do, and thankfully it was.
Yeah. Like you'd have to kind of take that risk to be able to get to that point, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Because I already had one child, and then I had another one on the way. And I remember when I had just the one child, I thought, well, this has taken up quite a lot of my time in the evenings already, this YouTube stuff. And then I was working full time as like a maintenance engineer. So I was on call like 1 in every 3 weeks. So I couldn't really regularly stream because I'd always end up getting called out, or videos would get interrupted because of call outs and stuff. So I was already like losing a lot of time because of my full-time job, and I was awful at my job. Like I really was. I was a maintenance engineer who trained as a toolmaker, so I wasn't very good at my actual job anyway. And I used to just basically go in the warehouse and find a place to rest and think about videos or have a nap. Really, that's that. To be honest, that's like basically what I did. And I was always like finding a way, like just keep grinding it out, because eventually you'll get to a point where you can earn enough. And then when my wife rung me up while I was in work and said, I'm pregnant again, and I was like, oh shit. Like, it was not a happy surprise at all, because my dream was at that point is to be a full-time YouTuber, because I was enjoying the journey so much. I thought this is my end goal. I knew full well the job I was doing I didn't want to do as a career, or even the industry at all. So I knew full well that's what I wanted to do. And then as soon as she told me that, as much as I thought, you should be happy about this, because it's a fantastic thing having another child, and I absolutely love him, by the way. Now he is here, he's adorable. He's probably my favorite out of the two. But the at the time it was kind of like that means my time to be full time is now limited, because if I've got no time already with one of them, you bet your bottom dollar I've got no time with two. So I was already sort of burning the candle at both ends with one. So I knew I needed to make a very quick route into being full time. And I kind of rushed it, but it paid off in a way. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Clearly. So when you're sort of doing your content and putting it out there, what kind of saves do you enjoy doing the most?
I think the best thing about my content, I think, is because I cover so many different teams. When I was like, before I was a content creator, I do a lot of journeyman saves, but I wouldn't do like unemployed and find a job. I get bored at one club and then just add myself as a manager at a club that I like the players that were there, which I guess is not really a way of playing the game. But, Foot Manager is one of those games where you can play it however you like and nobody can judge you because it's not an online game. But I tended to do a lot of like Pentagon challenges in my spare time. But a lot of the time, it was a case of like just managing teams I wanted to manage because I enjoyed the players. Because I think the thing I enjoy the most is transfers and player development. So doing like rebuilds or these like saves where I'm only there for like 10 years. I enjoy doing them the most because then I'm in and I'm out of it before I'm bored of the save, because I feel like I'm not a person who can really dive deep into like a 20-year save with one club, build a nation like a Matt from Second Yellow Card can. But the weird thing is, I really love watching that type of content because that's the stuff I was watching all the time. Gibraltar Apex with Jack was like a 30-year save, whatever it was, building up Gibraltar. And I used to watch the Polonia Warsaw from SYC. Like that was one of my favorites as well. And that again, building a nation. So the stuff I used to enjoy watching is definitely not the stuff I actually enjoy actually doing. So the saves I enjoy doing the most is these quick sort of turnover of clubs, rebuilds, that type of stuff, which I'm glad, thankfully, is the type of stuff that my audience also enjoys watching.
Yeah, I think that's very similar to myself. To be honest, I'm always one of them. I get bored at a club quite quickly and then like to move on, try and sort of build quickly a lot of clubs in a save. But then,
Yeah,
like I watch ever since I started working from home, I've been watching, like I watch Matt when he's on. I watch United City FM, just a few different ones, but they're doing them type of saves. And I think, yeah, it's amazing what you find yourself wanting to watch and is completely different to what you want to do yourself.
yeah.
It's interesting like that.
100%. I find it with other games as well. Like a lot of the time, my friends would be like, "Oh, have you played like Starfield yet?" I'm like, "No," but I've watched a lot of people play it, and I do enjoy it. Like, I know it would take too much time for me to actually play it, and it would, stop me from working. So instead, I'll find a content creator that I enjoy watching, play it, and I just enjoy watching them play it. And then to me, it kind of gets rid of that need to want to play it
Yeah,
because I also know I'll be crap at it too. Like I just, as much as like I really enjoyed growing up playing like Skyrim and games like that, myself, and Fallout 4 is another favorite of mine. Like I think I wouldn't have the time now to play it. And because my job is playing video games, kind of my downtime, I don't want to be playing video games unless it's like with my friends. So it feels different. It doesn't feel like I'm playing a video game. So yeah, I find that with other games too, but definitely with Football Manager for sure.
yeah, I've done exactly the same with the new Mortal Kombat. I've watched
Yeah.
tons of it on Twitch, but I just probably won't buy it.
Yeah, especially games like that because I don't have the finger reactions that some of these guys do, or the muscle memory or whatever it
Yeah,
is to do these moves. No way.
no, it's another level. Games like that, to be fair.
Yeah.
So the one thing I noticed going through your channel was you do a lot of content with your dad.
Yes.
How did it come about getting him involved in the channel?
Well, it turns out now he's kind of like the mascot of the channel, or the favorite of the channel, I guess. I think if he left the channel, I'd probably lose half my subscribers. It started off because I used to watch a lot of other people on different niches. One, because I enjoy the content of NBA and sometimes FIFA. Maybe at the start of FIFA's and stuff, I used to watch a lot of it. And NFL, if I ever get into it, I'm very much like a season. Sometimes I'll be into NFL, sometimes I won't. NBA, I'm kind of into it most years. So I used to watch a lot of content on the games. And one of the biggest formats is rebuilds. So rebuilds in NFL, FIFA, and NBA are always quite popular, but nobody was really doing it in the same similar format in Football Manager. There was people like Bood who was calling saves rebuilds because they were like physically rebuilding, a fallen giant, etc. And I was watching. I thought, I'm enjoying these saves. I need to find out a way of getting this into a Football Manager save because this is untapped. This in the market of Football Manager, and it's kind of how I was beginning to play the game anyway. Because again, that need for just rushing through a save because I wanted to see player development, and I feel like I'm not really one person who, when I do get into a save, I like to play every single game. Like that really bored me eventually because that's how I would end up getting bored of a team. So, like, kind of like holidaying or simulating, as you will, was kind of the type of content I was going down anyway. And then it was like, right, I need to find a way of formatting rebuilds. And at the time, it was just after the Euros in 2020. Harry Kane came out and said he was leaving Tottenham. Of course, we know he didn't for another 2 years, or 3 years, whenever it was. But it was kind of like, right, I'm going to do a Tottenham rebuild then without Harry Kane. I'm going to try and sell Harry Kane within the saves. And it just so happens my dad is a big Tottenham fan who was constantly talking to me about the Harry Kane saga. So I said to him kind of like, would you be interested in coming on? And I thought, I'm going to do the video anyway, whether he wanted to come on or not. But if he does, it gives like that added dynamic, because a lot of the stuff in Football Manager is obviously a one-player game, and it's very rarely you see people collaborate. And I tried collaborations before with like other content creators. And because obviously you feel like you're inviting them on your channel and they've got their own channel to worry about, which is not detrimental to them, but your channel is not as important as what they're trying to do. They're just kind of like helping you out, I guess, which is why I don't really feel collaborations in Football Manager really works. But if I get my dad on, whose full interest is my channel, it might be a different dynamic. And the fact that he hasn't played Football Manager for years before this. And even on mobile, he never played it, but he's so knowledgeable about football and what he talks about. I've really enjoyed discussing with him about football. So, and I knew he was quite good as like being a neutral as well. He's not like, although he's a Spurs fan, he's not like horrendously biased and everything he has to bring back to Spurs. He likes talking about other clubs as well. So I thought it'd be a good idea to bring him in, see what he was like on camera, because he'd never really done it. He was up for doing it. It went quite well. I mean, the first video we did, it was a great start. But then I remember we were sat on his birthday in Paynton, like having fish and chips in this restaurant, and I was like refreshing the screen, and it was going up by like 500 views every time I was refreshing, and I was like, "What is going on? We're in the algorithm, yeah? Like this is mental." And he just got like really excited by that, because then he was going on reading all the comments, and they were all praising him for being on it, for being so humble and just down to earth and just being him. It was like I've really enjoyed that. And I was like, do you want to do more? Because I'm more than happy of doing more of these videos. It would just need time to do it. So yeah, that was kind of how we got onto it. And then we kind of started with like doing, Jack Grealish leaves Aston Villa or Newcastle with loads of money and stuff like that. And we went from doing it like once every 2 weeks to once every month, or once every Monday. Sorry. And yeah, he really kind of dived into it, because after the Spurs one, he was like, what do I bring to the table now in this Aston Villa one? I was like, well, you're quite knowledgeable about football. Just find things out about Aston Villa, and we'll talk about it on there, and you just react to it and just act as if like you're reacting as if you're that fan. And I think that's one of the things he does really well, and what people of the audience loves is if it's their team, they love it because he's saying we, not Southend or Aston Villa. He's saying we did this, we did that, we were formed in. So he kind of like becomes a fan of that club during those videos. And I think that's why people really enjoy him on there, because again, it's a completely different dynamic, and it gives somebody to react, because you don't know any of the results beforehand. So it's kind of something somebody will see it as like a reaction. It's better than just me showing someone without a reaction, which I think works really well.
Yeah, I mean, by the sounds of it, he just loves football, and that'll always resonate, I think, with football fans, regardless of what club they support. I think a lot of your videos like that, will get fans of other clubs just watching them. If it's a rebuilding Tottenham, Liverpool fans, United fans, they'll just watch it anyway if they're fans of football, as well as fans of their team. So the fact that he's not really, like you said, I think he's not in it for anything else other than helping you and the channel out, and like I say, you're getting a live reaction there and then to gauge it properly. So it's obviously working again. You're hitting the right places with it. So long may continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think because he brings that kind of passion to it, it adds like the excitement to the video. Because if I was just like being overly passionate about results that obviously I already knew about, it wouldn't come across as genuine. Whereas I think he comes across very genuine in the videos. So it's been great because he's obviously always had a big interest in me and very supportive for anything I've done. But as soon as I started YouTube, etc., it was kind of like he was always keeping tabs of it. And when I got him involved, then it was really involved and wanted to know numbers and stuff like that, more about YouTube, and always very interested in it. And now it's come full circle because I've been able to help him semi-retire at least, and he's dropped days at work, and now he works for me, and I pay him for his time instead of because for hours and hours for the last 2 years he's put in kind of like 6 or 7 hours a week into my channel without me being able to pay him. So now it's I've been able to do that and support him and kind of semi-retire him, which is lovely. And the main aim is to fully retire him eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it gives you a whole nother reason to want to make the channel succeed as much as it has, doesn't it? So it's just an extra incentive. Not that you probably needed it, but it must be nice to have that as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what I like as well is because he is brilliant in the fact that he would always put in the time to research and stuff like that. And some of the facts he comes out with is, he even shocked people who are fans of those clubs. But now that he's actually working for me, I'm like telling him to slow down. Like he's doing so. This week, obviously, it's kind of like we're in a bit of a lull because we're waiting for FM24, and FM23's come to an end. And I've sort of said to him, like, I want to take a break now from content. I've got quite far ahead, so I've got videos of compilations. And he's like, what can we do this Wednesday? Like, I want to do. I'm like, just slow down. I was like, you've only been playing this game for 5-6 months. I've been playing it nonstop every day for a year. I was like, I want to take a break. But yeah, he's raring to go, which is obviously a good thing because he constantly wants to do something and be of use and help out and stuff, so, which is great. And we've already planned stuff for FM24, which he's excited to actually get the game on a laptop and play the exact same version as what I am instead of the iPad version. Like he can't wait for that, and he's already asking me, oh, why don't you get hold of Football Manager and ask if I can have a copy of. I'm like, no, it's not how it works. Like you have to wait. So yeah, he's raring to go anyway for the new game.
Yeah, great to hear it. So I mentioned it earlier. You've got you're just up to just under 96,000 subscribers on YouTube now. You've got just coming up to 28 million views. You're so close to that 100,000 now. Have you got something special planned for when you do it, that Mark?
Do you know what? Not really. Not like a special celebration, but I remember at the start of the year, Dad sort of said to me off camera, he was like, I reckon you can do it this year. And I was like, nah, I'm still a little bit too far away from it. And he was like, no, I think you can do it. So I said it on camera, and he was kind of like, why have you done that to yourself? Like off camera after, he was like, why did you do that? You've put pressure on yourself now. And I was like, yeah, I've put pressure because then I know I need to do it. But as soon as I said it, like the subscribers dropped off massively. I was like, oh no, like I was gaining enough when I said it to manage to accomplish that within ample time. And he wanted me to do it by obviously Christmas or end of year this year. And then the subscribers per month was kind of like halved. And I was like, oh, I won't even make like 90,000 at this point. But when we kind of introduced the versus rebuilds against each other, that kind of like catapulted it up again and kicked it on again. And it wasn't until like last month I was like, Dad, we're actually gonna, if we keep on going a little bit like this, we're gonna do it. So yeah, I mean, touch wood, we're just about to hit 96,000. I think it's like 95.9 right now. And we're gaining enough that I should be able to break that 100K, maybe even before the full game is released on the 6th. It might be during the beta period, I won't have it up, but maybe during the beta period, or might be just after the full release. But yeah, I think we can actually do it before December, which is a massive achievement. We haven't planned anything as like a special video or anything like that. Maybe I should, to be fair. Maybe I should have like an incentive or a goal to do after. But we just keep mentioning we want to get that plaque up on the wall behind me because that just, it's a bit of an accomplishment, I guess. But yeah, the grind doesn't stop there, though. That's the thing.
That's it. I mean, that's just the first, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know you can get quite a few different plaques with YouTube, and that's one of the big ones. But like you say, it doesn't stop there. I think there's a lot of creators thriving through FM at the moment. You mentioned Matt, second yellow card. You've got, your ones who've been doing it for years and years, Lelujo, Work the Space, Dr. Benji, there's so many. Zealand as well as another one, and obviously yourself. What's that? How great for you is that to just be a part of that?
Oh, it's crazy to me because what I find, like I said, I used to watch a lot of these guys. Ben, I used to watch every now and then on a few of his saves. I really enjoyed. Kev, I actually found because of a wrestling game, which was weird, and then realized he did Football Manager as well. He did a wrestling game that I used to be into back in the day, which is kind of like a simulation as well. So when I go to like these events and I'm kind of when I met them for the first time, it was very much a surreal moment, as if like, oh, I'm kind of one of these now, one of these guys now, and I'm meeting these people in person. And I think like I only met Jack in June for the first time because I didn't meet him in the last November because he was ill when we met up, and I was kind of gutted about that because it was like Jack was one of the ones that I used to watch right back in the day, and then I think he was the first one I watched, and then Matt Second Yellow Card was the other one who I fortunately did meet in the November last year. But yeah, meeting Jack for the first time in June was kind of a surreal moment. Like I've seen like hours and hours of stuff from this guy, and it's just it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, being at those events and like surrounded with all these creators is it's a great feeling knowing that I'm part of that now and I'm one of these guys and everything. And it is one of those like pinch me moments again where it's like you've accomplished this to the point where you're part of this now. But to just speak to those guys and realize that they're just like ordinary people as well at the same time. And, you talk about stuff outside. To be honest, when you meet up with them, you don't really talk about stuff to do with YouTube and Football Manager. I remember like talking to Tom a little bit about YouTube and Clates as well, because they were at the similar type of level as me. But outside of that, I don't think I actually had a conversation about YouTube with anybody else at those events. So it was one of those strange things, I guess, that nobody wants to talk about work. It's
Yeah.
more of a social. Yeah.
So you mentioned coming to the end of FM23. FM24 is just around the corner. Obviously, they've been dropping announcements of features and different things each week so far. Are there any ones in particular you're looking forward to? Are you going to try a save in Japan or Gibraltar, maybe?
Oh, I definitely want to do a save in Japan for sure. Like I kind of like had an idea in the beta to do like a season in Japan to see what it was like in kind of like my short series type of thing that I do, but just do one season to like a one-off episode, I guess. But yeah, they just like randomly dropped the Gibraltar news like on Twitter earlier. It was like, oh yeah, by the way, you don't have to wait for a Steam download now for Gibraltar. It's actually just going to be in the game straight away. And it's like, how have you not mentioned that until now? Like we're literally just around the corner, and they're like so blasé about it. I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys, like make a big deal out of that. I think that's big when they've added a new nation and stuff. I mean, I know last year or the year before it was Latvia, and that's not exactly like a league that everybody wants to manage in Latvia. I never actually did it myself, but I think the J League is a big one because we've never had any even like players or anybody from Japan because of the licenses that they have or international teams. So that's going to be great. And the fact that they've gone the full whack and have like 3 divisions and stuff. I know Jack's planning to do like the 5th division because it's almost impossible to get promoted. So he's looking forward to the fact that there's licenses above that. So that's really good. And Gibraltar is my dad lived in Gibraltar for ages. My granddad played for Glasses United. So as soon as I seen that today, I haven't because normally like I have to write things down and then that's when it's like confirmed I'm going to do it. I only seen it on Twitter like an hour or so ago that they're doing Gibraltar. So I'm like, right, okay, I need to plan out a Glasses United save at some point, I'm sure, just because my granddad played for that team as a striker back in the 70s, whenever it was. So that's kind of cool that there's stuff like that we can do and everything. But I think like everybody's kind of like, this is great, but we know what you've announced for FM25, and it's one of those where it's like, oh yeah, I'm really happy that FM24 has all these new things, but I've got to wait a year. And I'm feeling that a lot from everybody, by the way.
Yeah, I think what they actually have announced has been quite good in terms of, because I was watching one of Matt's streams a few weeks ago and people were talking about it, and I sort of said to him, do you think that they're gonna half-ass it a little bit because they have got the big changes coming in with FM25? But to be fair to them, I don't think they have at all.
No.
And I think a lot of people felt like they did that with FM23, so they couldn't really afford to do it with FM24.
I agree. I've got a feeling that FM23, they tried to do the set piece thing, but couldn't get it working in time for FM23. So they thought, we'll hold it back for FM24 because it did feel like FN23 was one big feature away from being announced, kind of thing. It was kind of like, oh, this is what we've got. And everybody was like, oh. And then when it happened and there was a lot of bugs already, I don't think they really liked the reception that it got. And they were kind of disappointed with how it was received. And that's the reason why FN25 was kind of announced to have all of these changes to kind of like, we're not doing nothing. We are doing something. We've got something big planned. This is what it is. So please stick with us. And I appreciate that because I definitely felt a bit disappointed by FM23 because I felt like all the things that were added made no difference to my content whatsoever. And even to be fair, I kind of like leaned away from it all. I mean, I don't really focus much at all on the actual game side of things now. I'm more story driven. I think I have to find a story within the video or else I don't even post the video. So I think that's kind of the direction that it kind of forced me to go in, which actually is probably a good thing because I think it's really helped my videos grow and stuff because it's the way to the key to YouTube. I think really is the story when you're doing that type of content. But yeah, FM24 does have a few things that I think is going to be really good. I can't say too much on what I know or seen or anything, but yeah, I think people are going to enjoy it if they do decide to get it. But I understand completely when, because times are really hard and with the cost of living crisis and stuff, people are probably looking at that big announcement for FN25 and going, well, FN23 is still a playable game. And Football Manager is one of those games where it doesn't feel too bad if you are playing the one before it. So people might skip FM24, which I don't know. We might see it within the numbers. It might just be a complete bluff and everybody will buy FM24. I'm not really too sure. But I think when FM25 rolls around, that's when I'm looking at the game and going, this could be what Ultimate Team was to FIFA within popularity. FIFA was very much a career mode game. Ultimate Team come around and all of a sudden these, the popularity of the game skyrockets and everything like that. I think it's going to be that, and for content reasons, I'm so excited because I remember watching like Spencer FC or Chris MD, KSI in like 2010 to 12, whenever it was, when they had small channels like 10, 20,000. I think I remember watching Spencer FC's like 20,000 subscriber video. And then you look at these guys now, and that's off the back of FIFA and how good Ultimate Team was to the development and the growth of their channels. So I'm hoping that can be the same. And that's kind of my goal for FM24 is to be one of, if not the most watched person for Football Manager stuff, because I think I've done a little bit of research. I've got a feeling I had the most views on YouTube for FM23. From what I've seen on the sites that I've used for it, I think I had like 2 or 3 million more than the next person. And that's obviously because I was very consistent in FM23 of uploading as much as I possibly could. But that was one of my goals for FM24. And I've kind of already cracked that in FM23. I'm like, whoa, let's not peak too soon.
Yeah.
Let's keep the train rolling because when FM25 comes around, I want to be one of the biggest, or if the biggest, because I'm anticipating that game being huge for YouTube on Football Manager.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, no pun intended, I think it's going to be a real game changer.
Yeah.
They've been smart in not saying too much about it so far, but they've said, I think, just the right amount to get people excited about it at the minute. So yeah, it's going to just take it into a whole new stratosphere, I think.
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's anybody out there who's thinking, I'm going to get FM24, I'm going to start doing my own content, I'm going to put it on YouTube, start streaming, whatever they feel like they want to do, what advice would you give to anybody thinking that?
It's one of the questions I get quite a lot from content creators. And I've actually done like Discord calls with like 20 or 30 smaller creators about YouTube and with Football Manager as a niche. And YouTube's not a simple thing, but I think it's full of loads of simple things that you need to put all together, but it's complicated to get all of those simple things right. because when you look at it as a whole, you think, well, why am I not doing that right when I'm basically like, copying somebody who's got loads of subscribers and doing really well? I've done it myself. I'm like, why is nobody watching my series when, it's exactly the same? That's why it's exactly the same. Why would they watch my series on on Eintracht Frankfurt in 2019 when it was basically exactly the same as Let's Play as a Jack and Kev, but theirs was better and they've been around for longer? That's the reason why I needed to make myself different, myself unique, and that's where the rebuilds came in. Fortunately for me, as much as everybody has now done rebuilds, nobody has a dad sat next to them who brings a different dynamic. And if they did bring their dad in, I'm pretty sure people would be like, hold on a minute, we know what you're doing. So I have that one up on everybody because it already makes me different having him there. So I think making yourself unique and finding something different within the niche is quite difficult now. But if you can do it, you've seen people thrive. Like recently, Crew was one who, came around and did really well straight away. I think Bexley was another one who did a couple of really good videos, one-offs. And I think that's what you need to do. And what both of them did really well, which made them stand out and made them blow up on YouTube, is tell a story. And we've seen, I think I've said it a couple of times. I remember tweeting about it, but I think the best video on FM23 out of anybody's content on YouTube is when Clates did the save where they did the Spanish team buying African players, and he made it a movie. And I don't know how long exactly, but I know for sure it probably took a lot longer than what it would any other video that he's got on his channel, but it paid off. It's over 500,000 views or 500,000 views, whatever it is. And he's done another one with the Graham Potter one that he's done very recently, and it's took him obviously a long time to put that one together. But the rewards that you get from putting in the time to make the content as good as what it is outweighs making 10 lesser quality videos just to get them out on a regular basis. So I was speaking to one creator literally this morning who asked me exactly the same, a bit of advice on what they are going to try and do for FM24. And my thing was like, make it, if you have to take longer to make it better quality, do that. Because YouTube's not going anywhere. The audience isn't going anywhere. It doesn't matter whether it takes an extra 2 days. Put the time in and you'll probably see the rewards. And that's something I found out kind of the hard way, because there's been a lot of duff videos where I've tried to rush out and then I've really like, okay, I need to take my time, and it's over a longer process. Whereas, if I had known that at the time, that's something I would have been telling myself 2 or 3 years ago, take the time to make better quality videos beforehand, because in the long run, you're going to pay off, because you get a reputation then of having a much better quality video, and YouTube will push that because the engagement or the whatever they see as being good on YouTube gets pushed from retention and stuff like that, which is all the difficult analytics that you see in YouTube. All that kind of stuff is favored.
Yeah. Great advice. Excuse me. So, away from Football Manager, mentioned at the start, you are, of course, a professional wrestler as well.
Yes.
How did you get involved in all of that?
It was from the podcast again. I owe my life to that podcast, really do. I started the podcast, and the day that I released my first 5 episodes, one of the co-owners of Reach, which is I'm now the tag team champion, contacted me. Well, actually, no, he added me on Facebook, and I thought, he's added me because he's listened to the podcast. He didn't. It was just the same day. He just so happened to be trying to promote tickets for their first show. So he added me on Facebook, and I messaged him about the show and said oh, I've bought tickets for it. Would you like to come on after the show and talk about it? Which he, of course, was happy to do because it's promotion for their brand, their show. And I got talking to him. We, started speaking off air and stuff, and really enjoyed it, and did the second show exactly the same. He came on as a preview and then after the show as well to talk about how it went. So he kind of said oh, you can be the podcast for Reach Wrestling now. It's going to be just on your stuff. So I was like, okay, that's brilliant. So I got a bit of a following from the Reach Wrestling audience, and I started interviewing people there. And then it was end of 2019. I was playing football on Saturdays and Sundays, so that's why I was kind of like always busy on the weekends. I had like a game, I had like a weekend off, and they still happened to be doing like trials or like taster sessions for their training academy. And he sort of said, "Why don't you come down and like have a go at it?" And all of my mates really wanted to do it as well. There's four of us who wanted to do it, so we agreed to do it on one of the Saturdays, and they were doing two weekends in a row. And on the first Saturday, I had like really bad kidney stones on the Friday night and didn't turn up. The other three did, and he was like, "You've bottled it, haven't you? You've fully bottled it." Uh, Thankfully, I went across to the taster session the following weekend. Kind of fell in love with it. Out of the four people that went there, I'm the only one who's still there now, which is cool. One of them even quit after the day one, so that was quite funny. But yeah, and I've been doing it kind of ever since that day, really. I never stopped going training, and I think within like 2 weeks, I just quit football, which for somebody who's played football since they were like 5, 6 years old and never not had a team, it was one of those things I couldn't believe I was doing. But honestly, I haven't missed it. It's been like 4 years, and I've played like in charity games since for my old teams. And I thought, oh, this is going to suck me back in. I'm going to be wanting to find a Sunday league team again, and it didn't. And it was kind of like wrestling is kind of filled that void for me, and I enjoy it much more than what I did my last couple of seasons in a football dressing room, really.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And again, the rise you've had so quickly in the business, I know even especially the regional scene in the UK, it's especially difficult to break into. So the fact that
Yeah.
you've had that catalyst already, haven't you, from the podcast? And I think the fact that you've took that and ran with it is great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So at the moment, we see, as we say, tag team champion of Reach with Danny Boy Johnson, the Viral Connection. How much fun is it tagging with him?
Oh, it's the best time I've ever had in wrestling. He kind of like joined quite late. He was at a different promotion in the area in Devon. So after COVID, that promotion kind of folded. So there was like a group of like 8, I think, of people who joined from that promotion to the academy. And I've never really spoke to him. He's quite like a very socially awkward person when you first get to know him or first meet him anyway. And you think, oh, he's a bit quiet. Maybe he don't like me or whatever. And then he gets in the ring and he's just like, where has this come from? Like he is shouting and, shouting abuse at people because he's a brilliant heel. And you're just like, whoa, it's like a completely different person, but he's fantastic. He's so entertaining. And then we kind of crossed back because during COVID, we couldn't run shows because of obviously you couldn't actually run an event at anywhere. So my promoter was like, "Oh, you do YouTube. Why don't we post shows on YouTube?" And I stupidly said that I'd edit them and record them and everything. So I got sucked into that, which took a lot of time to do, but was worth it because it gave me, myself, and everybody else like who was on the cusp of being ready for matches just as COVID hit, a chance to actually debut and be kind of like get ring rust out of our systems when we were able to actually run shows and stuff. And I don't think like there's a lot of people who made their debut during those tape-ins, which might not be where they are now, I guess. I don't really know. So it's ended up to be like a really good thing. But he sort of came along during those tape-ins and we kind of crossed paths in promos and stuff like that. And we kind of like sort of made it out like we were mates behind the scenes, and then we got put against each other in like a Patreon match. And I said to him, I was like, should we just act like we're best mates and the match just be like really emotional? And I was like, let's just make it stupidly funny, and kind of like the end can be like the Ric Flair Shawn Michaels where one of us has to go, I love you, I'm sorry, or whatever, and go to super kick. It was like, yeah. But it turned out that I was to be winning that match. So we did it like he goes, I'm sorry, I love you, goes to super kick me. And then he misses, or I reverse it and go, no, I'm sorry, I love you. And then pinned it. Well, like did my finisher and pinned him and was like crying after that I'd hurt him to the point where he couldn't kick out of 3. And it was like, we made it to be the stupidly emotional match. And straight away, like the promoter was like, you two just might as well just be a tag team, didn't you? So I was like, yes, that's exactly what I want to do because I knew I'd just have fun with it. But that is the most fun. Now we've been to different parts of the country and even abroad Wales and stuff and we've it's abroad, isn't it? Yeah. So we've been to different promotions and sort of like the feedback that we get the most, the positive feedback is like the character work and the crowd stuff is what we're strongest with, but that's just us two having fun. It's not like put on. We go out there and we just kind of like be ourselves to the crowd, and it just like resonates with the audience, I guess. But yeah, it's so much fun being his tag partner.
Yeah, I was watching you put a video up a few weeks ago. You and him, I think it was your debut in a different promotion for their tag team titles, and you could just see how much fun you were both having with it, and
yeah,
the crowd engagement, I think, especially with these smaller shows, is crucial to it. It can't really succeed without that audience connection, and so the fact that Reach were able to keep going and putting on good stuff without crowds there and just on YouTube and stuff like that is remarkable, really.
Yeah, definitely helped a lot of people for sure.
Yeah. So, what's been your favorite venue to wrestle at so far?
Oh, there's a couple of really good ones. So in Plymouth, we wrestled, which was actually my live show debut after all the tapings, was the Plymouth Guildhall, which was like 650 people. So that was pretty mental, to be fair. There's a couple of really good venues in Plymouth that we've run. The main one where we won the tag belts in July is one of my favorites, like the Plymouth Mahjons. But outside of that, I think there's two that I've been to that I've really liked. We went up in August to Morecambe for OPW and wrestled Synergy, which is I think is one of the best tag teams in the country. They are fantastic. They're kind of like the babyface versions of us in regards to very character driven, very funny, but they're also very good in the ring. But they are like absolute meters. They're massive. Stood next to them, I was like, Jesus Christ. And the venue that they had there is like a nightclub, and that venue was really good because the effects and light and everything, it looks fantastic and you can feel it. And the Morecambe crowd are unbelievable. They are really good. And there's another one in Wales called the Neon, which is in Newport, and that's another one that I've really enjoyed wrestling in because that's very similar. Actually, it's an old nightclub, so the lighting and everything's good. But those two are the standouts for me.
Yeah. Have you got any plans for 2024 to go to a real abroad place, like one where you've got to get a flight to or something? Any plans to do that in wrestling?
So our promoters, our local promoter, Jason King for Reach, he messaged me about a month ago and said, "Oh, there could be opportunities next year to go to France because there's a couple of guys who went to France last year, and he said something like one of them was asked about me because of the YouTube side of things of being having like a following, so." It was like, oh, there could be opportunities in the new year to go to France. It just depends on, the budgets and whether we can do the right deal for, taking everybody over. Because obviously, if they're going to bring somebody over, they might as well bring a car full or at least. So that's something that I'm like, I really hope happens because the guys who went over to France last year are two of my closest friends. I've had quite a lot of matches against them, and they said like how much not only do they benefit from it from a point of view of wrestling because it's different style of wrestling and the conversations you have to plan a match are different, so the experience of it is obviously going to help massively. But then it's the case of like just enjoying it and the actual trip itself, because one of the things that I really like when we go to places which are quite far away is I want to have a good car because I want to have a good laugh. Like I see it as like a day away from the kids with the lads, like and make a weekend out of it. That's what I really enjoy. So if it's a case of going to France abroad and enjoying some European wrestling, but also taking part and then hopefully learn something at the same time, then I don't see a negative in it. So that's definitely something on my radar that I really hope happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, then to finish off, you put a tweet out a few days ago, calling for the abolition of international breaks.
I went down a storm.
Well, yeah, that was just like, so you got a lot of stick for it. You'd obviously said, you'd like it to be all played, have a shorter season, and all international football kind of played in one sort of big spell at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And as I said, you got quite a lot of stick for it, but I think a lot of people probably didn't really properly read what you were saying there. And I think a lot of people probably thought you were saying just get rid of international football, which
Yeah.
absolutely isn't what you were saying.
Not at
Were
all.
were you surprised by the reaction to it?
Yeah, so I was on holiday when I tweeted it as well. And I remember we went to a dinosaur park and I'd literally just got signal as we come out of this like cave that went underground. And like as I loaded it up, there was somebody complaining that we had only played 8 games and there was a second international break. And I got really frustrated because I was already agitated because of the kids. And I sat down on this couch and I just wrote that tweet out and just like posted it and didn't think nothing of it. And then got back to the hotel, got Wi-Fi again, and I was like, oh Christ, that tweet's done quite well. Like it had a couple of like 100 likes on it, a few retweets. I thought that's done quite well. And then I went to like down to the pool and where I didn't really check my phone or anything, and then went to dinner and I noticed it had blown up a little bit, and I thought, well, that's gone mental. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, holy, and yeah, I don't think a lot of people read exactly what I meant because there's like as you say, not once that tweet did I say, let's get rid of international football because I don't want to do that. Of course I don't. As much as I don't think Gareth Southgate is the right guy for England, and I don't really enjoy international friendlies, and I hate having to break up the Premier League season with international breaks. I don't want to get rid of international football. That's absolutely ridiculous because when a tournament comes around, I get really into it and I really enjoy watching the tournament. So, and supporting England, of course, but it's like people clearly seen that as I wanted to get rid of it, and then just like a lot of hate comments. And I'm glad my Twitter settings were that you have to be verified to be able to message me privately, because I feel like I would have got a lot of death threats that day because there was a lot of quote tweets from the like England away fans who were, calling me the C word and saying some horrendous stuff about me, which did make me laugh. A lot of like digs at me being a YouTuber who plays video games and stuff. And it gave me a chance to do my classic your mum jokes back, which I really enjoy doing to trolls. And then it's, it was a lot of people I was going, you need to reread the tweet that I wrote because there's not what I'm saying. And I completely understand that my suggestion of making them play all the qualifiers the season, the preseason before probably isn't viable. Else they might have done it already. And, the international breaks are needed. I get that. It's just, it was a frustration tweet that I was like, oh, I hate an international break because personally, I do. I genuinely dislike the international break. Will I watch England tonight? Yes, because I'm still going to watch football. And I was actually annoyed I couldn't watch the Scotland game last night. So that wasn't on like UK TV because I thought, oh, there's football on, at least I can watch it. And I was thinking to myself, just don't tweet that you're watching it because that might, there was so many people who bookmarked the tweet. I thought that's going to come back and bite me one day. I know full well. So, but yeah, that didn't have to blow up. But all I was thinking was, well, at least Elon Musk is going to give me some money for the, for the tweet blowing up because I think it had like 4.2 million views. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's just, I didn't expect it. Like, as you say, if you read it, it's such a just like sort of throwaway comment. There's like, I don't even think you're probably not even 100% serious about it. Like,
no, it was just a suggestion. Yeah.
People have just took it the wrong way. But yeah, 4.2 million views. I mean, it worked in that sense.
I think I've had like 3 tweets go viral, and all of them have been about international football. I think there was one that I mentioned about Harry Maguire once, tweet about Harry Maguire and Gareth Southgate. That went like semi-viral, and I was having, Harry Maguire fan favorites message me and give me death threats and stuff. And I was like, whoa. And then there's been that one. And then I think there was another one at the Euros a couple of years ago that I made a throwaway comment, and it's just gone mental. I thought I'd post it. I get 50 or something likes on Twitter, a bit of engagement, whatever, and then probably forget about it. And then, oh God, that went stupidly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, I've always thought that just talking about Liverpool in a bad light gets you interactions on Twitter, but clearly it's England, so I need to.
Oh yeah,
I'm a Liverpool fan, so I obviously don't tweet nothing bad about Liverpool, but I might have to start tweeting bad stuff about England just to get a bit of interaction.
It's so easy. You just like rope them in, easy fish to catch. I found like I tweeted about it after, but the people who go to the England away games were the ones that were getting really aggressive.
Mm.
And I was like, let's put two and two together why there's a lot of trouble when England play away at these tournaments in France where there was lots of fighting and stuff like that. And we're like, oh, how can this happen? Because when I go to Wembley, it's all like friendly and stuff. It's like, yeah, all the away fans were the ones that were getting really aggressive and saying some extremely personal things and, you know, calling me the C word like 4 times in one tweet. And it was like, oh, it makes kind of sense now that when these guys have had a drink in them as well, that, you know, there tends to be a lot of fighting and stuff going off in these countries. I'm like, right, okay, that, you know, I'll put 2 and 2 together there. That kind of makes sense now, I guess. But there we go.
Yeah.
It was all fun and games. A lot of them, I ended up like just kind of like tweeting back and forth and ending in a friendly way. Because again, I don't really care too much about international football. It's just a frustration. Like you say, a throwaway comment. It was just funny the reaction I was getting. Yeah. It was more of a case of like, I've got another one, I've reeled another one in. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, no, I did notice some of the replies. There was that many. I couldn't see them all, but I noticed you having fun with some of them. Like one having a go at you, like you said, for being a YouTuber who doesn't go with the games. So you post a video of you at a game when you were over in Spain.
Yeah, literally like 2 days before, I was like, I've pretty much been to a game more recent than what you have, mate. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, no, fair play for taking it in your stride and just laughing about it, really.
Yeah, I think you got it now. Like I used to reply to every single comment, and like as a YouTuber, when you're starting off and you see like a positive comment, you want to reply to every single person. Eventually you start getting the negative ones and you either, you know, try and reason with them, or, you know, you argue your case for whatever they are arguing you about. But it's got to the point now where it's like, I see so many comments come through that are negative or people hate me. And if I see them and I've got time to have a bit of banter with them, I like to do that. But I never get to a point where I'm in like a slagging match with anybody now. It's just no point. What is the point in it? There's these internet trolls. And I used to have one where he used to write on every single video like a troll comment about something I'd said in the video. So I was like, you're watching every video. Like, and I know you're watching it because you're mentioning stuff that's happened. I even like found his Twitter account because he was following me and like tried messaging him like, do you actually have a problem with me? Or is like, what's going on here? What's the dynamic? But he never replied. And I was just like, fair enough. But yeah, eventually I just muted him because I was like, there's just no point in even like seeing his comment anymore.
No, well, he clearly had his notifications on for you. Like,
it was, honestly, it's every video he had something to say like that was negative about or trying to take the mick out of something or call me out about something. And it was just like, oh my god, he was telling me it was brilliant. I enjoyed it for when it happened, but he'd never reply, so I couldn't even get what I wanted back. I wanted a bit of banter back, but he never even reply. It would just be, I'll have to wait for Tom's comment for tomorrow then and see what happens then.
Tell you what, it'd be interesting to see how many like people subscribe to you and follow you when you've got as many as you have, like, who are actually sort of haters in a way. Like, because I can imagine there's people like that won't be the only one. There'll be loads of them who subscribe to you just to go and watch your content to point out any little minor flaw you might have. It's a weird life.
It's a very strange thing. I don't understand. Like, you know, cancel culture is quite big on like Twitter and YouTube and stuff. And I don't quite understand like people who they go out of their way to just do that, really just for the sake of it. Like, why have you got that much time on your hands and stuff like that? Like, go do something productive and maybe you won't be so unhappy to be like that. Because I don't think I've ever left like a troll comment where I'm having a go at someone just for no reason whatsoever. Like, if I'm calling somebody out, it's for a good reason on Twitter or something. Like, but yeah, I don't understand these people. Like, if I don't like a YouTuber, I'm just not going to watch him. I don't get it. Like, it really baffles me. Like, the ones that always crack me up is when like I'll do a video idea and they'll go, "Oh, you're just copying Tom FM." I'm like, am I really? So do you go on every person who's ever done a rebuild and go, you're copying Omega Luke? Because I bet you don't, because I was the first one to do a rebuild. I checked that. And now, you know, there's about 15 different channels who do rebuilds. And a lot of people I've helped out and, you know, spoke with, collaborated with, etc., met in real life. And I don't have a problem with them because video on YouTube is a video on YouTube. It's content. People are going to copy each other because original ideas are very hard to come by now. So when people are like getting really arsy with me because they think I've copied a video from another content creator, it's like, you're on YouTube, mate. Like
Yeah.
this is what YouTube is. It's just an idea which is spun into a different idea, and and transformed that way. Come on, mate.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite ones.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think these people don't realize as well, the ones who would come on and comment, you're copying Tom, or you're copying, you might say you're copying Matt or something like that. They don't realize that you all kind of know each other anyway. It's like,
Yeah.
you don't see it like that in any way.
No.
Even Tom, I think there's someone on TikTok pretending to be Tom at the minute, which he's asked people to, flag the account and things like that. And he even said in the post, like, if people want to repost my content on a different platform, that's great, but don't pretend to be me. Like that's the mentality. I think a lot of people, a lot of the big ones have that opinion and that mindset about it when it comes to Football Manager. I think it's one of the probably least toxic sort of communities, if you like, out there. FIFA is notorious for it.
Oh God, yeah.
And like you've got all your like competitive games like your Counter-Strikes and Fortnite and stuff like that. They're probably all very toxic as well. But Football Manager, you don't really get it with it.
No, not at all. There used to be a couple of people who thankfully are not around anymore, who were very toxic. Like when I was at FM Scout, there was a big scandal that happened. Then the reason why I left FM Scout was because the guy who was running it, I'm not even afraid to say his name, Jamie. He was a knob, but he was bad to me and RDF and caused like an argument between me and RDF. And it turned out like I spoke to Aaron since, and it's like, oh, he did that to both of us and turned us against each other. So it was there were a lot of toxic people within the group, or in the kind of niche of the community, and thankfully they're not around anymore. So there tends to be some little arguments and bickering in a lot of like smaller creators because of like Twitch streamers trying to one up each other, etc., or stuff like that. But you don't really see anything big in the FM world anymore because a lot of us, we've all met each other. We're all mates, and we've hung out and socialized and stuff like that. So if there's a problem, you either do it behind closed doors and it gets squashed like straight away, or you kind of like know the limits and the boundaries and stuff, what not to do and what to do and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple of thumbnails that maybe I've took inspiration from Tom, but he's done exactly the same, and people have copied something that I've done, and now, like, we're all using the same thumbnail designer. So it's like, oh, all our thumbnails are going to look similar. And everybody's going to go, why are you doing the same thumbnail? It's like, we've got the same bloody designer. That's why. So, yeah, me and Kev share the same designer, and he does Matt's as well. So if you're thinking, oh, their thumbnails look similar, it's because it's the same guy doing it. All right, guys. So you don't need to write on all our videos and go, oh, you've copied so-and-so's thumbnail. 9 times out of 10, we already know about it, and we're fine with it because at the end of the day, a rising tide lifts all ships. It's one of that old saying. I wouldn't have got nearly to 96,000 if it weren't for the fact that Kev has gone over 100,000, or Ben's gone over 100,000, or Zealand's got to 300,000. It's just one of those things. You need the community to grow because one person going as big as what somebody could get to, but everybody else staying the same is not healthy for the actual game and the niche itself on YouTube. So it's only a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Luke, thank you very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. It's been a great chat as well. And really thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on, mate. I've really enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Anytime. My pleasure.